Welcome back, everybody. Of course, Sports Federation TV here, and as we promised earlier on, we'll be catching up now with some of the administrative side behind the Western Cape Provincial Sport Confederation. Well, I've said it many times, but you probably know by now that the Western Cape Provincial Sport Confederation is a division of SASCOC, and of course that's where our athletes come from, end up from a provincial perspective, having come from all the different districts, and hopefully the athletes will then go on from being provincial to eventually play in the national structures. But behind the scenes, there's of course lots of administration, because you can imagine how many hundreds of sports federations there are. In terms of the SASCOC structures, there's already something like 65 different sports codes there, made even up more of multiple sports codes, and then those codes are broken into the various districts, and then of course are affiliated to the Western Cape structures as well. With me now is Lyndon Julius. He's the General Manager of the Western Cape Provincial Sport Confederation office. So all the administration that happens behind the scenes lands on this man's desk. Lyndon, welcome to Sport Federation TV.
Good evening, JP. Good evening to all the viewers, and thanks for having me on the show.
Yeah, and I think it's one of those sides we hardly ever touch on, is the behind the scenes. You know, we talk about the different sports federations, and we talk about obviously the administrators from those federations come here, and then we've got the athletes. But behind the scenes, there's a lot of sort of administration other than just coaching and so on, and that falls on your desk.
Yeah, there's a lot of, I'm one of those administrators, that sport administrators, that enjoy not being in the front line. I don't enjoy being on the camera.
But you've spent a fair amount of time on the front line. You've got a journalism background.
Yeah.
You're always on Cape Rugby TV.
The more I go, the longer my career goes, the further back I sort of detract myself. You're right. And our sports federations, in South Africa is pretty much still an amateur space, especially in the Western Cape, and the Provincial Sport Confederation allows these federations to sort of have their own administrator that's full-time, that supports them in all sorts of, in documenting and keeping their minutes, and that kind of thing. And then obviously, more importantly, the Confederation, we support the EXCO and also the MANCO as an administrative arm.
Yeah, and of course the confederations, I mean, let's just pause on that, because we can still talk about the commissions and the administration behind that, the federations and the administration behind that, and there's so many different things. But if we pause on the MANCO, when you talk about MANCO, you're talking about a management committee that is elected into a position to look after.
So it's kind of a structure that builds up the higher up or the broader you start going. You've got the management committee, as you said, which is the president, and then the two vice presidents, secretary, and then a treasurer. So it's basically like most sports clubs are, or your amateur sports clubs, and then these federations then, or this MANCO will then decide on the matters of the federation.
The day-to-day operations.
The day-to-day operations, stuff that the office might need to run, and like you say, the day-to-day operations.
What sort of things from an administrative perspective, if you're talking about the MANCO now, what sort of things would you be arranging behind the scenes for the MANCO?
So we would, for example, if there's a meeting, you pitch up at a meeting, but the amount of time that goes into that specific meeting, it's only maybe 22-hour meeting or 3-hour meeting, but the planning starts 3 weeks in advance. It sounds very daft, it sounds mind-boggling, but you've got to get the venue, you've got to get quotes, you've got to stay above board, the governance of the meeting policy needs to be upheld, these kind of things, and then you end up
so you play a big
4 days.
Support role behind the secretary, obviously.
Obviously, and then work very closely with the finance, with the treasurer, and also liaising with him. Obviously, the federation is a non-profit organization, so we do rely heavily on funding, and then also the auditing of our financial, which allows us to then have the funding. But like a meeting, for example, the meeting packs, printing of the meeting, getting the meeting room set up, so that when your MANCO steps in, look, this is a provincial management committee. It's not just, with all due respect, just a normal sports club. These guys run the sport in the province, so you don't want these guys walking in there and having to fall around for paper, having to fend around for a bit of water, or a pen or whatever. So when these guys walk into a meeting room, you want it to be on a level where once they do get to the point where they are able, then they can then fall into SASCOC, because that's ultimately who we, or where our federation, or
they can immediately get down to.
They know exactly how to handle, they know how to governance, they know what meeting policy and procedures about, they know who to speak to, they know about protocol, and this all starts with administration. And I think if our administrators or our MANCO are kept in line and kept in a formal position or a formal state of mind. And this is where good administration comes in. You know, following up on your meeting requests, following up on your minutes and your agenda. You know, all those nitty-gritty kind of things.
You've got a level below that, well, not below that, but then you've of course got the executive structure, and there you've got 14 people on an executive, which is an enormous group of people that you have to make sure is looked after. Yeah,
this group, you know, they go as far as all the 6 districts. So it's Eden, Cape Town, Overberg, Cape Winelands, Central Karoo, and then West Coast. So you have all these guys coming from 400-500 kilometers, some 600 kilometers for a meeting on a Saturday. So you have to arrange, make sure that they are within their means to come to the meeting, that they aren't putting strain on their finances, their personal finances, because this is a volunteer position. And these districts, who is an extension or this extension of the EXCO, they then decide and make decisions that entabled at the General Council meeting, which is then all the members of the Western Cape Provincial Sport Confederation.
So you obviously make sure that they've got their accommodation, and then of course there's other things behind the scenes, like they go apparel and promotional items and
branding and marketing websites and all and also the Sports Federation TV. We also have a great deal of preparation and administration and helping the guys in the studio.
Well, obviously the show is dedicated to the federation, so we've got to always check.
It makes more sense. It makes more sense. Yeah, obviously we need to check the credentials of it. We don't want to have
no cowboys.
No cowboys.
There's no cowboys in India.
There's no Wild Wild West here. The closest we'll come to the Wild Wild West is to the West Coast, but they are not cowboys either. So I don't think Mr. Gerald Don would take a kind-heartedly to me calling him a cowboy. No. Although he might sort of like feel that he's a bit of a guy to deal with. But I think that there's definitely a sense of pride when federations, when you send out the request or the invite for the television, you know, you've got young athletes from 10 up until you're more senior, you know, 68, maybe even 70, sitting on the TV, you know, where it's unheard of across the country, even in the world.
And then you go, now we go down to the next bigger meeting is when you maybe have a general council meeting. Then you've got to organize for the MANCO, the EXCO, and all of the members, and those members bring 2 people, and you've got commissions. We'll talk about commissions in a second. You then have to arrange for the leaders on every sports field in the province to be in one room. I mean, that must take quite a lot of logistical planning. Yeah,
of course. And then you know, the secretary of the confederation of the MANCO, this position also needs to be very on top of the administration game. It's not just something that you can just pick up at 5 o'clock in the evening. You know, it's a full-time position. So by the time that the General Council meeting is called, you know, you need to know exactly who your federation representatives are, the 2 from the delegates. You need credentials to verify. Credentials is the names of the 2 delegates on a letterhead from the federation. So you don't just have cowboys coming into the General Council meeting. And also that you know exactly who your members are, because your members are the ones that vote and that have a decision in the General Council meeting. And then these 70 or these 25 or 30 members on the confederation, they then decide on the way sports is driven within, obviously at the guidance of the EXCO and the MANCO and the president of the confederation. But to get these guys in a room sometimes can be a bit tricky. It's a bit of a daunting task, because you got to get them down here. Some come from Eden, like I said. West Coast is Vredendal, it's George, it's Beaufort West. You know, it's
the other thing that you also, from an office perspective, deal with is the question of colours. So that is an office prerogative. So for people who want to wear provincial sport colours, the federations, they send their applications to your office.
So if you want to wear this logo on any apparel, any colours that is linked to this logo, the logo is copywritten, so we've got the rights on this logo. So any federation that uses this logo must obtain permission from the office. I will then liaise with the president on the vetting of that federation or of that club, to see if those athletes are indeed within good standing of the confederation. And then we will advise also on the right supplier to be used, because we've got partnerships that we want to build with these people, which ties in with our marketing and media and sort of that kind of budget planning going forward. So you can't just have, for example, if you've got a function and event that a confederation hosts, we won't go to another cool drink supplier. We'll stick with Bashus, you know, because Bashus is our official supplier. You know, so we go to Bashus. So that is how we build partnerships over the years, and it will grow. And I mean, the colors application process is something that we're really trying to push. We've had in the past, we've had a few federations. I mean, there's the logo. We've had a few federations that have sort of tried to jump the rope and trying to find loopholes, but we've tied that down now last year.
And the reason for that is because of the fact that this is the official provincial structure. So if you want provincial colours, which is quite an important thing, because you obviously can't get funding and transport support and so forth. And if you don't have this logo on, this is the official.
Exactly, and I mean, this logo ties in with SASCOC, and SASCOC ties in with the IOC, and the IOC is the Olympic board. I mean, how high up do you want to go? You know,
so
this is the official. Exactly, this is the official logo of the Western Cape. It's not Western Province, as most people will think of it.
So just tell us, and then of course you've got commission structures as well that you have to support. The women and girls, there's transformation, there's coaching, there's high performance, there's obviously farm workers, and then you've got to try and lend a hand and help coordinate them as well. And again, you've got then a lot of districts to work through.
I was just going to say now, I mean, a big part of the Colours Commission, or of the Colours as well, is how do we keep our high performance athletes, you know, in check with our district academies, the academies that we've got that are running in our 6 districts, and then also the farm workers that do quite a lot of work, you know, with indigenous games and the sports that they play on the farm. You know, not farm per se as in it's outliers, but it's more of the community within our rural areas and within our districts. And then our women and girls, you know, we've got our commission head there, Sunette Mare. She does brilliant work. She's a hard worker. She goes around. I mean, that's part of a transformation chart that we got, which ties with our transformation commission, Mr. Cowley, you know, and he does an amazing work, you know, along with the confederations, Manco, keeping in line with, once again, with SASCOC and with government. So there's not like where you can bypass anything here. You've got to keep a strict sort of a strict protocol and a policy in place, and this all ties in, and that is why we need that is why an office was established for permanent employees of the confederation. It's not just a volunteer position where you can just pick your book up at 5 o'clock this afternoon after your day job and then want to try and run the sport in the province.
So a lot of admin going on behind the scenes and making sure that sport operates properly. We obviously have to get you back on the show. So I think there's a lot of things that we need to still talk about, things like event planning.
I'll be dressed better next time. I'll be dressed.
No, but it's great having you on the show.
Thanks a lot.
And it's always good to find out what happens behind the scenes. We quite often just see things in the newspaper or we speak to the athletes, but behind the scenes there's so much happening. So thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. Thanks a lot, JP.
There we go, folks. Sports Federation TV, and as you heard now firsthand, of course, looking after the federations here in the Western Cape. I'm JP Nordia. I'm in for Lyndon Julius. She's away playing black ball at the moment, and we look forward to having back on the show. Remember, you can find us on Facebook. Just look out for sports. Just do a search for Federation TV, Sport Federation TV. Otherwise, post on the Western Cape Provincial Sport Confederation Facebook page, and we'll pick up those comments. Remember, all federations affiliated within the Western Cape structures and across the 6 districts are welcome to come onto the Sports Federation TV. That's what it is dedicated to. Big thanks, of course, to Bashus that is on board with Federation TV. And, of course, remember, you can enter that competition. Just SMS the word Bashus to 33090. We'll see you again next week, same time, same place. Have a fantastic sporting weekend. Bye-bye.